In 2014, former Tinder VP of Marketing Whitney Wolfe filed a highly publicized sexual harassment and discrimination lawsuit against Tinder and its parent company, IAC. It got ugly, the kind of public, career-defining fight that follows everyone in the room around for years. And almost no one asks this obvious question: could it have been prevented? I'm a co-founder conflict coach. I spend my days in rooms where founders are trying to tear each other apart, consciously or subconsciously, and they hire me to help fix it. So I pulled the file on one of the most famous founder breakups in tech, and I asked a simple question. If they'd hired me, could I have saved it? What would I even have done? This is a story that is full of juicy gossip and drama, and I will give you my verdict, so stick around. But before we jump into it, I need to give you some quick background because the story behind the headlines is pretty wild. Whitney Wolfe was one of Tinder's earliest and most important founding members. She helped name the app. She built the growth playbook that made it blow up, going from sorority house to sorority house, fraternity to fraternity across college campuses. If you used Tinder in the early days, then you were using something she conceived of and helped build. She and co-founder Justin Mateen, Tinder's CMO, dated for a while. And when two people on a founding team are also dating, it gets complicated. The line between the personal and the professional doesn't just blur, it disappears. After a brief stint together, they broke up. Surprise, surprise. And according to her lawsuit, that's when it all turned ugly. Mateen allegedly sent her a barrage of degrading, sexual, cruel messages. The complaints described him as calling her all kinds of horrible things and just repeating pretty misogynistic and racist statements all over the place, including calling her a whore in front of the CEO at a company party, allegedly. Now, let me be clear about one thing. There is no world in which that kind of behavior is okay. I'm not going to defend it, and I don't think you should take anything that I say in this video as such. But there are still things that we can learn from what happened. Here's the part that lit the fuse. The co-founder title that she said she had earned got stripped away from her, erased. So she quit, and then she sued. The case eventually settled, reportedly for over $1 million. There was no admission of wrongdoing. Mateen was suspended and eventually left the company. So maybe this sounds like a clean story. Vengeful ex, toxic guy, lawsuit, payback, the end. But Whitney Wolfe had that dog in her. She didn't disappear. She took the cash. She started working on a new dating app, one that put women first, and built Bumble. In 2021, she became the youngest self-made female billionaire on the planet. Okay, so this is a little bit of an experiment. These videos talking about famous co-founder breakups. So if you're enjoying this, please like and subscribe to the channel so that I know that this is something worth continuing. So here's the story underneath the story. We've got here two specific kinds of people who are colliding in a way that I have seen play out across many founding teams. No personality model is gospel, but the Enneagram is actually one of the most interesting and useful lenses that I have found for walking through conflict like this, because it tells you about people's core desires, needs, and fears. So even if you don't buy into the whole system, stick around because this will be helpful. The Enneagram is broken down into 9 types. That number is based around a core wound, a core fear, a core need, something that they are going to protect no matter what. Whitney Wolfe reads to me as a classic 3, often called the achiever or the builder or the performer. And here's why. 3s are bright, hardworking, highly accomplished people who are attuned to what the audience wants, and they need to become recognized for it. Because here's the tell, even after she became a billionaire, she's talked publicly about how she cared too much about whether her employees or the press liked her, and how that often tripped her up as the CEO. And that's a 3, because for them, recognition is oxygen. Mateen, on the other hand, we know less about because he's less public, but to me, he looks like an 8, the challenger, the protector. 8s are assertive, they're tough, they're decisive, and they get confrontational when they feel threatened or like they're losing control. They're fiercely protective of whatever they consider to be theirs, until something flips, and then that same intensity points in the other direction. The 3 needs recognition. The 8 needs control. They date, it goes well for a minute, power couple vibes, and then it ends. And for the 8, that breakup is gonna feel like a loss of control. They can't help it, especially when it seems like Whitney broke up with him. So what does an 8 do when they are losing control? They try to take it back. The controlling messages and the move to stripper title start to make a little bit of sense, even if they still aren't justified. Now, you might be thinking, Jason, this sounds all very nice, but this is all theoretical. Well, let me tell you this. There is a founder that I actually know, Monica, who is a self-described 3 who had an 8 co-founder. She saw me posting about this 3-8 Tinder conflict analysis and said that I had nailed it. She posted in the comment that in her experience, 8s hyperbolize their feelings. They overstate, they project, because saying I'm sad or I need help or I feel bad is almost impossible. So the pain leaks out in a weird way as an attack or as a kind of control. She also said something else that was interesting. 8s value fairness. So when Mateen tried to paint Wolf out of the company, he was either breaking his own code and doing something to her that he wouldn't want to have done to him, or he was righting a wrong and doing what he thought should have been the case from the beginning. We don't know because his side of the story is relatively limited. Monica, she said that it took a lot of work for her and her co-founder to learn how to deal with each other, to make sure that they were getting the recognition that they wanted, that the 8 was getting the control that they felt was important to them. And as a 3, she had to learn to not take things so personally, because if the 8 was giving feedback, she had to understand that it was just about the product. He wanted it to be better. It wasn't about her. So that's how Enneagram looks at this collision. A 3 who is protecting recognition and an 8 who is protecting control. But now let's talk about the question that I actually get paid to answer. If I had been brought into the situation, what could I have done? After thinking about it, I've got 3 moves, and I'll walk you through each one of them. The first intervention is pretty simple. Express positive needs and establish intent. Behind almost every founder fight is a need that no one has really expressed. There's this phrase, if you don't talk it out, you're going to act it out. And that's what was happening. So in this case, I would get each of them to really fully have a chance to express what they wanted. Wolf wanted to get recognition for her work and to get respect in day-to-day activities. Mateen wanted a sense of autonomy and to not feel cornered. The key thing about expressing positive needs is that you are saying what you want, not what you don't want them to do. It's not about criticizing the other person. It's about saying what matters to you, which can be scary, which can feel a little bit vulnerable, but it's what builds empathy. It's what's going to make the other person care, is when you articulate it in a positive way. In my ideal world, what I would like to have happen. And then we've got the intent part, which is also critically important. Each one of them has to say, I want to honor what you need. I want to give you what you want while also protecting what's important to me. And whatever happens to us romantically, I want our company to win, which means that we have to have a working relationship that centers respect and open communication. Now, in this case, we don't know if that could have been possible, but that is the intervention that I would have done. I would have tried to get the 2 of them to come together to talk about what was important to them before they went off and before the crisis got so bad that it turned into a lawsuit. All right, with that out of the way, I would move to intervention number 2, own and share your triggers. This is the one that Monica nailed. So I'm actually going to pull up her words here. As a 3, she had to learn to stop reading every piece of feedback that her co-founder was giving her as some kind of judgment, as some kind of verdict on what her competence and her worth was. Sometimes the guy was just stating an observation, just trying to make things better. What she learned was that having a co-founder who is an 8 means that when he gets big and loud, he's often just scared or frustrated, not necessarily attacking her personally. Again, this requires you to get honest and get vulnerable. That's the work. Each person is going to own their own trigger. What are they sensitive on? And tell the other person what it feels like, what it looks like when they are being kind of hit on their soft spot. When you go quiet on me, I assume that I'm being erased. When I feel controlled, I'm going to push back hard. Once those triggers are on the table, it's easier to stop fighting the other person and start recognizing how to manage the pattern, how to not push each other's buttons. Finally, the third move, and something that I would recommend to any kind of co-founding team, weekly heart-to-hearts. I have a whole video on this that you can go check out, but in summary, it is a weekly standing protected check-in, not a status meeting, not a workshopping problem-solving meeting, but one where you do 4 things. You show appreciation for the other person, you celebrate wins, you name any friction that is happening when it's still small, and you give feedback to each other. Almost every co-founder blow-up that I've seen started as a level 2 friction that no one was addressing, maybe for weeks, months, even a year or more. until finally it became a level 10 problem. The weekly heart-to-heart is really about catching those moments of friction while they're still at level 2. It's a smoke detector. It might be a little boring, but it works. Wolf and Mateen obviously had chemistry. There was a place and a point in a time where they liked each other, they respected each other, and they were good collaborators. But at some point that got lost. Maybe after the breakup, it would have become too difficult to do that, but we would have had to try. We would have had to create an opportunity where they could connect. And maybe things could die down a little bit, tensions could ease, and they could get back to a solid working relationship. So, could I have saved Tinder? I rate every single one of these cases on a scale from no chance to in the bag. This one, I rate it as dubious. Here's my honest take. By the time everything went public, the messages, the lawsuit, the title revoked, I mean, we were way past any kind of reconciliation, any kind of repair. No coach is going to save that. That ship had already sailed, was on fire and sinking. But there probably was a window very early on, back when they first started dating, before anything got toxic. And that's when this kind of intervention could have really mattered. Maybe when things are starting to get rocky, but before the breakup. That's when an intervention is relatively easy, not too emotionally taxing, and the relationship is still substantial enough to weather those kinds of storms. And unfortunately, most of the time, in my experience, people do not intervene then. Nothing's on fire yet. Things don't seem that bad. We're going to be able to get through it. It's not a big deal. Everyone can be an adult. I've heard all of the excuses. But the cheapest time to fix it is the time when it looks like there's nothing to fix. And I don't know if they called anybody in. I don't know if they thought about calling somebody in, but that is when this kind of intervention really would have had the highest likelihood of success. So where am I landing on this? Nobody could have saved the level 10 meltdown of Tinder during the lawsuit, but that level 4 conflict that's simmering but not yet boiling, the one that you keep telling yourself isn't a big deal, that one, there was a chance. So if you find yourself in one of those situations, then maybe you can rescue your company before it goes through a breakup, a lawsuit, and one of your founders goes on to start a really, really successful company. If you found this interesting and you want to learn more about my approach and also check out the Enneagram pairing tool that I use to analyze their collision, they're all in the links down below. I'll show you what you and your co-founder or your teammate, your peer executive, somebody in your life is protecting and where you guys are going to run into each other. And next week, I'm going to pull a new file, a product that has been used by hundreds of millions of people that some are calling the future of humanity and some are calling our species' downfall. I'll see you there.